Hi everyone, it's Vivi, and here's this week's anime news brief, as well as a review of You and I Are Polar Opposites, as well as a quick dress up in Infinity Nikki as Suzuki. We have some pretty big news this week, starting with the trailer for the latest Pokémon title, Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves, announced just in time for Pokémon's 30th anniversary. Both will launch exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2 for a global simultaneous release in 2027. This is a first mainline game that won't be playable on the original Switch. The trailer not only showcases popular fan favorites like Pikachu, but also the new starter Pokémon, the grass type Brout, fire type Pombon, and water type Gekwa. Which one will be your starter Pokemon? Personally, I find Pombon adorable, and I have to say the main player character design is pretty great with what people are calling Mr. Windy Chew and Miss Wavy Chew. Game Freak is once again developing the game, and just from the trailer, it's a huge step up from the last series in terms of graphics. Although personally, I think the Pokemon could use a bit more detail in the models and textures. With that said, there seems to be a pretty expansive world, and it seems to be somewhat Southeast Asian-inspired region, suggested by the tropical vibes and underwater region. And wait, are we actually going to get an underwater location that players can actually explore? I'm looking forward to seeing some more trailers with gameplay. So, are you Team Wave or Team Wind? Despite the many delays, Madoka Magica, the movie, Walpurgisnacht Rising, has a firm release date now of August 28th, 2026. The film has suffered multiple delays, with the most recent due to production circumstances. Prior to that, the film was slated to open in winter of 2024 to winter of 2025 before getting delayed to February 2026. The film will feature returning staff of the original series and movies, including writer Gen Urobuchi and composer Yuki Kajiura. Hopefully there aren't any more delays, since so many fans, including myself, have been waiting since the Rebellion film in 2013. And finally, the news that's changing the game for anime accessibility. Akane-banashi premieres April 4th. Now, this Rakugo series has been a personal favorite of mine on Viz, but the shocker here isn't the premiere date, it's the delivery. It's launching on the Akane-banashi global YouTube channel for free in North and Latin America. Keep an eye on the upload schedule, as there might be a short wait after Japan airtime. Unfortunately, international plans outside the Americas haven't been confirmed yet. This is a huge shift and game changer for the anime industry. We usually see Shonen Jump hits locked behind a subscription, but this feels like a strategic move, perhaps even supported by the Cool Japan initiative, to spread traditional Japanese culture to a wider global audience. If this succeeds, it could set a huge precedent for how niche or culturally significant anime are distributed moving forward. So let's pivot from the traditional world of Rakugo to the more modern world of rom-com with a review of You and I Are Polar Opposites. I initially saw a preview in theaters for the first episode of this series, and I loved the fact that the main couple got together immediately. There's no will they, won't they that is the hallmark of so many high school romance anime. Instead, the story revolves around how the relationship develops and how the male and female lead come to better understand each other and themselves. The animation here is top-notch, which is surprising considering many rom-coms tend to get the short end of the stick in terms of quality. I also love the use of the bright colors, and the overall show has a youthful and vibrant energy about it, just like you would expect for a high school show. Suzuki is such a refreshing protagonist. Despite the gyaru aesthetic, she's incredibly earnest. She's drawn to Tani because he has a quiet confidence she feels she lacks, while Tani falls in love with her bright and energetic disposition. While they might be opposites on the surface, they have a lot of similarities deep down. I think in that they both care for their friends, they are both a bit insecure, I mean, who isn't in high school, and they both strive to be good and understanding to each other. Spoiler alert, there are spoilers ahead, so skip forward if you don't want to hear them. Seriously, spoilers. You have been warned. One of the things that I really enjoy about the show is that there's actual communication between Suzuki and Tani, for the most part. When Tani is overthinking, Suzuki calls him out on it and tells him that she wants to know his thoughts and struggles. She knows that when he says it's nothing or nothing's wrong, that it's not true, because she actually observes him and understands him. There are also plenty of other side characters who are just as interesting as Suzuki and Tani. One of them that really caught my eye was Taira, because he really resembles Hikigaya from My Teen Romantic Comedy Snap Snafu. They seem to have the same mindset, but where Hikigaya is kind of stuck in his own world for a lot of the show, Tyra's thought process is constantly challenged. For example, in one of the episodes, Tyra has an internal monologue of how people don't really look much deeper than surface level when they're dating other people and only go for people on their same level. Suzuki dating Tani throws that whole theory out of the window. There's also other side characters like Suzuki's friend Azuma, who has a penchant for going for bad boys and speaks like she's a 25-year-old with many failed relationships. I'm also enjoying the budding romance between Yamada and Nishi, which seems to mirror Suzuki and Tani's relationship in that one is outgoing and the other is shy. The introduction of Rihito was also a nice addition because while Suzuki might be a bit more open with her current friends, you can see her revert to her previous self with him in that she doesn't know how to approach the topic of their dating, so it's up to him to clear the air. One of the things that I really like about this anime is Suzuki's struggle with matching the mood. It's a theme we've seen in classics like His and Her Circumstances with Yukino and Soichiro, or more recently with Yui Yuigahama in Snafu. But where Yui often sacrifices her own feelings to keep the peace, Suzuki takes a leap of faith. She realizes that being agreeable isn't worth losing a genuine connection with Tani. It's a beautiful bit of growth that happens so much faster than we're used to in this genre. Heck, it happens in the very first episode. Of course, compared to something like His and Her Circumstances, which takes several episodes for Yukino to be her true self, Soichiro, much like Yui, still struggles with his inferiority complex due to his family circumstances and his own trauma. And while he does have growth towards the end, he never truly takes his mask off. While I think this feeling of inadequacy and wanting to fit in is a universal experience, I think it's even more exaggerated in a country like Japan that is a more collectivist society versus a place like the US that is more individualistic. Being shunned by your peers can be a death sentence to your social life in Japan because you don't fit in or don't live up to the standards of others. I think that's what makes You and I Are Polar Opposites so popular and modern, as it shows that there could possibly be a growing change, hopefully, within Japanese culture to be true to yourself and go after the things you like, even if you think other people might not approve. Your happiness is in your own hands. And speaking of taking happiness into your own hands, one of the ways Suzuki expresses herself is through her style. So, to wrap things up, let's head over to Infinity Nikki to see if we can recreate her iconic look. I've done her up in her school uniform and her date outfit with Tani. Which one do you like? So, what are your thoughts? What news item excites you? What are your thoughts on You and I Are Polar Opposites? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this kind of content, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Next week, I'll be reviewing Kaya-chan Isn't Scary, so don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified when it comes out. I will see you next week. Bye!